Good afternoon, everybody. It is currently 3:01, and I'll call this regular meeting of the Jefferson County Development Authority Board of Directors. As Vice President, I will be chairing today's meeting in Chairman Wilt's absence. He had a slight emergency. He sends his condolences, and anything that we need, we can get from him after the meeting. We'll start off with a roll call. We'll go around the room, starting with Dave Lutman.
Present.
Mara Bowserman, she is en route, so when she does arrive, we'll just put in the minutes that went the time that she does arrive. Kimberly Moss.
Present.
Kathy Skinner.
Present.
I'm Tyler Tumlo. I am present. Heather McIntyre.
Here, present.
Raymond Goodrich.
Present.
And then online, I believe I saw Jill Upson.
Present.
Give me 1 second to get back to who else was in there. And Zach Amato.
Present.
Thank you. If you guys do see anyone else that comes in online, please let us know and we'll reflect it in the minutes. All right. We will take a look at the July 21st, 2026 minutes, which were included in your packet. If you guys could take a look, and if there's any corrections or additions, please let us know.
Mr. Chairman, we have someone online. I don't know who that is. If we could ask them to identify themselves. It's just a phone number.
If there is a phone number, which I actually don't see it on mine, can you please identify yourself? Okay, I'm showing myself present, the commission meeting room ×3, Jill Upson and Zach Amato. You're seeing a phone number, is that correct?
Yes.
Hi, Chairman, this is Pasha. Can you hear me?
Okay.
Yes, we hear you. Can the record reflect that Pasha Majdi, Commissioner, has entered the chat room?
Thank you.
And I'm not sure if I can go back on mute. Could you help me with that, Lynn?
I can't do it from my end. Can you guys do it from one of the? Yes. Okay. They'll go ahead and remute you. Was there a motion to approve the July 21st, 2026 minutes?
I'll move to approve the minutes as presented. That's Jill.
We have a motion from Jill Upson. Does anyone second? A second from Raymond Goodrich. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries. We will move on to the treasurer's report. Raymond Goodrich and Daryl, would you like to walk us through this?
Sure. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. Just to alert you, we are in a fiscal cycle. Numbers in the budget has changed for the development because many of those lines went under the budget of the county commission. So it's a little bit easier to be able to report. Not too many moving parts at this point, but keeping close to my program with 4 items of follow-up. We still have the lot 36 determination. Also spoke about in prior months the new business park initiative. The interest owed to the West Virginia EDA and the grant funding which we transferred to the county's budget of $78,600. That will expire 12/1 of this year if it's unused. Today, we'll also be talking about the fiscal year 27 budget conversation but really very little movement in profit and loss. Cash or current assets was reduced by the end of July 25, mostly at very predictable expense. Site analysis 10. So this was all, these were all planned items. As a result, our insured cash sweep, which are the Reduced, our accrued interest continues to stay the same at 8.5. Then we have for the July period income statement, really net operating income was minimal, as we will no longer receive the reimbursements from town for payroll. The only income that should be received is that we generate funds or grant funding will show up in our. We are requesting an operating grant for the year, and then I continue to big blocks. These are follow-up and other elements of past bills. Anything else that you'd like? Questions for the group?
If there are no questions, can we get a motion to approve the treasurer's report from Mr. Goodrich as presented?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by, or sorry, first by David Lutman, second by Kimberly Moss. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Staff, is there anyone who signed up for public comment? No?
No, sir.
Okay. Can we please put on the record that at 3:06, Mara Bazerman did enter the room? Thank you. All right, we'll go straight into item 6A. Is that correct, Director Cowles?
Yes, sir.
Okay, the floor is yours.
Well, item 6A on your agenda is the Yes West Virginia Ready Site Grant update. And as you know, we received, were granted two $75,000 site development grants from the state of West Virginia. One for the lot that we own in the Burr Business Park, and the other for the Jefferson Orchard property. That is going to be a third-party agreement between the property owner, the JCDA, and the state of West Virginia's Development Office. And we now have the MOAs in hand, and I had a meeting this week with the property owner at Jefferson Orchard, a Zoom call with his real estate agent, he and his real estate agent, and he's going to work with his engineer on the property to see what are the missing items that they would like to accomplish to make the property more marketable, more site ready, and follow back up with us. So in a week or two, as you guys may recall, last month, you appointed a subcommittee to work out exactly what items you're going to do, we need done, and come back to the full JCDA board and make recommendations about what could be done on each of those lots to make them more marketable and ready. And that is almost ripe. So another week or two, I think I would have the MOA ready to go. The trigger for the calendar on when that money needs to come in and be spent is a 12-month trigger that starts when the MOA agreement is executed. So I've been sandbagging it a little bit not to execute that MOA so the clock doesn't start, but we're getting real close, and I expect the subcommittee will have a meeting coming up soon, Mr. Chairman. And as you know, that meeting, those subcommittee meetings are full publicly held meetings that we'll host here, get online, post an agenda. So it's a little complicated to have a subcommittee, but this is one of the reasons that you guys appointed the subcommittee, because it's important to figure out exactly what you want to do and make the best use of those two grants.
Correct.
But that's the update.
Okay, thank you. Is there any discussion? And I don't believe that's an actionable item, correct?
No action needed at
Okay.
this time. Just make sure that your subcommittee is aware that there's some work ahead.
Correct, yes.
Yes.
Mr. Lutman's here. I will put Mr. Mood in the loop as well. All right, next is approval of the fiscal year 2027 budget as presented in your packet. There are three budget options, which I believe Executive Cowles will go over.
Yes, sir. In your packet, and that the treasurer alluded to, there is a draft budget in your packet. And the yellow column is what I'm proposing you adopt for the draft budget for FY27. We're actually a little late, a month late or so in adopting the budget. So there is a bit of urgency to get that on record that these are our budget items for the year. And it's a little bit of bad news for you. If you start at the far, in the spreadsheet that's before you, the item numbers are in the far left-hand column and the items are in the next column. And in green in the third or fourth column is last year's budget. And I want to draw your attention to the first two items, the 4010 Jefferson County and the 4152 grant income from WVDO. The Jefferson County Commission last year earmarked $105,000 for the JCDA, and you were able to secure a grant for $41,500 from the State Development Office, which is your routine LED grant. But if you look in the yellow column for this year, we anticipate $0 coming in from Jefferson County's commission and only $30,800 coming in for grant income from the state of West Virginia. That effectively changes your operating budget from $146,000 in change to just over $78,000 in change. And the way I get that $78,000 is you only have in your control that one grant there for operating costs of $30,800. But the Jefferson County Commission stood up the Office of Economic Development under the Jefferson County Commission, and they have appropriated $47,800 for operating expenses for that new office. That new office will bear a good bit of cost shift, maybe dollar for dollar cost shift from the JCDA's normal operating budget to the Office of Economic Development's operating budget and save you dollar for dollar $47,800. So if you want to compare apples to apples, you should add that $47,800 worth of savings from the new office to your operations, and you would compare last year's budget of $146,500 to $78,600. It's still almost a 50% budget cut that economic development in Jefferson County is going to deal with this budget year for operating expenses. But and in order to offset that, if you look at the bottom of the yellow column, I've asked to transfer from your reserve expenses $24,000 so that the budget is balanced with a couple $100, $350 left over at the end of the year. So anticipating using $24,000 worth of reserves, I think that yellow column could be our item by item budget for the year. And it is considerably tighter when you look across those, considerably tighter in the operating expenses on the expense columns on each one of those items. For example, one of the biggest losses is going to be Jumpstart Jefferson is zeroed out for the year. I think we're fortunate there are some others, the Small Business Development Office and Shepherd University, some others going to stand up and fill in that gap and take over that program, at least temporarily or for the short time. But that is zeroed out of your budget. It's no longer going to be under the control of the Jefferson County Development Authority. But Mr. Chairman, that is the gist of the budget. Yellow column is what I'm suggesting. And you can see in the notes column, the items that were cost shifted to the Jefferson County Commission. And if you wanted to, there are two other options in the far right column, option 2 and option 3. Option 2 is an even tighter budget, reducing your expenses by even more so that you only have to use $10,000 worth of reserves. And option 3 is the even tightest budget, which is just shifting over a little under $5,000. But I think we can live and manage. You do have healthy cash reserves to work off of, but it is my intention to get some sort of reoccurring revenue for the Jefferson County Development Authority and a better budget appropriation next year so that we can do some more work. The final note is there are some other income items there to note. One is $150,000, and that is the Yes West Virginia Site Ready grants. That is pass-through money. It's not calculated in my numbers before because although it shows up as income, it equally shows up as an expense. The same is true with the JCC action income from last year. It was a pass-through amount of money of $116,000, as well as in-kind rent income shows up as income, but an exact amount shows up as an expense. And so although the budget is $300,000 last year and $242,000 this year, much of that is pass-through income or grant income that has to be spent on specific projects. But for your operating expenses, it's a little bit of bad news, but we'll be fine for this year, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Members of the board, is there any discussion, questions, or comments for Director Cowles?
Yes, I have a question. Oh, go ahead. Didn't mean to interrupt. I didn't see that Ms. Skinner was speaking.
Oh, no, go ahead, Ms. Upson.
Go ahead, Ms. Upson.
Well, I was just going to ask Director Coles exactly how much money total is in that reserve account, because 23,000 sounds like a lot to take out of it. What is the total figure that's available?
You know, I don't have the exact number. I believe it's about close to 900,000, but Raymond may know in his.
Just give 1 second and Treasurer Goodrich
Okay.
get that for you. We will move on to Ms. Upson, to Ms. Skinner, and then we will go back to Mr. Goodrich.
I just have a couple questions about some of these things like, where was it? Training and travel expense. I'm assuming that's for your position, is that correct? But if you're an employee of the county with the economic development department, wouldn't those be that department's expense as opposed to the development authority expense?
Well, they could be, and they did build into the budget for the Jefferson County Commission Office of Economic Development, travel of $5,000, dues and subscriptions, some meeting costs. So there are some offsets to that, but even still, I think it's considerably less than what you'd budgeted last year. For example, meetings looks like about $7,000 budgeted last year. I still kept 2,000 in your JCDA yellow column, and the 47.8 that's under the Office of Jefferson County's Economic Development is let's see. Yes, it's 5,000. So it's about the same, but in order to hold that harmless, we have to add $2,000 in the yellow column.
Right, but if you're an employee of that department, I don't understand why we're bearing the expense of those things that should be under that department. I mean, we can't have it both ways. You can't be their employee and our expense. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I understand your point. Yes.
And then the other question I had was legal services. Do we have any idea how much we've spent on legal services so far? Because I know we had engaged a law firm to do some work for us, and that may well be in excess of $15,000 already.
Entirely, it certainly hasn't this budget year and the month that we were into this budget year. But yes, that item from last year, I think, was $17,000 for professional services. Or no, that was accounting. Legal was $25,000. So.
Right, and we're dropping it to 15, but I'm just curious do we have any idea what their bill is so far
For this budget year?
for the project that we voted to have them do for the Summit Point
Right,
water?
we've been billed $0 on that project so far.
Okay, but we don't know how much we've actually spent.
I do not. We haven't spent any. What they've charged us, I don't have a current status bill. Yes.
Right, I mean, there might be a bill out there that we just have not received and paid yet.
That's right.
So if they've done legal work, I'm sure that there's a fee associated with that because lawyers
Yes,
typically
ma'am.
don't
I'm sure
work
the
for
clock's
free.
ticking, you know.
Right. I just, I have concerns, just like Ms. Upson, that we're draining reserves by $24,000. And at the same time, giving up programs that the JCDA has been proud to do, like Jumpstart Jefferson. And, I just am trying to figure out what we're accomplishing with our budget and what our mission is here if we're draining down our reserves.
I think Raymond, being able to tell us what our reserves are, will add some candor and validity to this conversation.
So our total. Of that, what I would call a reserve fund, in other words, look at it, we actually excess of that out of our rainy day. 70 would be the buffer. Therefore, we have to rule that if we're going to serve, unless we get other income, have constant conversation. We're in the reserve.
Do you know the interest rate of what the reserve is sitting in?
It's sitting in what is called an insured cash. As it goes to a variety. If I'm not mistaken. Just comparatively speaking, a year ago, July of 25.
And the only thing I would add to that, Mr. Chairman, is there is a need for some cash flow dollars in your account. As you know, the $150,000 for the site development grants, that's money you spend and then seek reimbursement from the state of West Virginia. So you need to cash flow out of your checking accounts $150,000 worth of site development grants. You also need to cash flow almost this entire budget, because the $30,800, which is the totality of your income, comes in the 12th month of the fiscal year. So for the entire fiscal year, nearly 11 and a half months of the entire fiscal year, you will get $0. So you need to cash flow your budget plus the $150,000 site development grants. And I agree with the concern of legal expenses, especially if there's some legal issue that comes up as we're transferring the property owners association, we're acquiring a lot through a sale with the state auditor. There are some legitimate legal expenses that could arise. So I share those concerns, but the only note of caution I would add is there's good reason to have good cash flow and liquidity in your accounts for the operations that you're running.
Are we able to briefly touch upon Lot 12 and potential cash flow in the future, or is that something that we'd have to come back to?
No, it's on the agenda. We can certainly skip to that if you want.
Well, that could potentially bring in cash flow. Is that correct?
That's right. It appears there's a letter in your packet from the state auditor that Lot 12, which is in the Burr Business Park, this board applied and got the tax liens about a year ago, and that property was not redeemed. The taxpayer of that property, the owner of that property, didn't pay their taxes and never redeemed your lien from the tax sale. And you've acquired Lot 12 in that letter, and they've processed a deed invoice, and I've paid the deed invoice, and it's in process down at the state capitol right now, but it appears as if you're the new owners of Lot 12 in the Burr Business Park. Now, if you go look at the Burr Business Park, it's a nice lot, and it's an improved lot. It's nothing built there, but it's gravel, highway entrance. There's some photos in your packet, and a fully fenced in lot that could be used to generate revenue. You could put, there was some discussion some time back that I saw in your records about a flex space or some sort of empty building that you would lease out, but great options are ahead for you to consider, for this board to consider using Lot 12 as a revenue generator. The things that jump off the page for me is it's worth $300,000 as we speak. You paid way less than that for it. You could flip it, sell it to a business, adjoining property owner, someone else, and clip the coupon and have some cash reserves, improve your cash reserves. You can use it as a laydown lot. It's a fenced in lot now. And you probably lease that out for $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 easy per year and have generate revenue of $50,000 a year. Or you could invest into a building and have a spec building on that piece of property. And as you all know, 10,000 square foot flex space is really hot in the market right now. And I'm pretty sure we would fill that right up with new businesses moving to Jefferson County if there were 10,000 square foot flex space units available. So you have options.
Okay. So to go back to 6B, approval of fiscal year 2027 budget proposal, is there a motion to approve option 1?
Before we do that, can I
Go
just
ahead.
make
Sorry.
one more comment?
Yes, absolutely.
And I'm sorry to interrupt, but I just have concern that, even if we get more income, typically those are grant related income line items, which, have an expense tied to it. And so if we get 50,000 in, we have to spend 50,000 on the grant project. If we get 120,000 in, we have to spend 120,000 on the grant project. And all of these other expenses that are on here are operating expenses that are never going to go away. We're going to have those year after year, if not greater expenses. And there is no way, since the county commission took away our bucket of money, how are we going to pay for those expenses this year and down the road without having some sort of, income not tied to grants? It's just something that needs to be figured out sooner rather than later before we burn through our whole $170,000 or whatever it is.
Well, I certainly agree with you. There's $60,000 worth of expenses that you're cutting out of your budget between what compared to last year. But the ongoing expenses need to be backfilled by ongoing revenue, to your point. And I think Lot 12 or utilizing Lot 12 or somewhere we can get reoccurring revenues that could be used for our ongoing budget expenses is absolutely critical. So I agree with you, but it is the hand you've been dealt right now. The county's budget is set and in place. And I think that's where we are for this budget year. And this is the best I could do in the short term, was to squeeze as much as you can in that yellow column, cut your budget, and then use your reserves. The yellow column uses $24,000 worth of reserves to make us through this year.
One last question. What was our interest income? I think Mr. President's point was very valid. And then I don't know if we're coming back to Lot 12.
We are. Yeah.
Okay.
I wanted to close out or potentially try to close out that before we got to it.
Okay. Yeah, I've got some comments on the
Sure. Yeah,
revenue side of that.
Is there any other discussion while Mr. Goodrich looks up that rate?
Yes, well, he's looking for that. I was not able to hear online when he gave the figure for the amount that is available in reserves.
Tap your mic.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, much better. Thank you.
You're welcome. The mic's off. Magic happens. All right. Just to recap. So our total cash position, i.e. bank accounts, including our reserve account, stood at on 7/31 stood at $1,020,000. From July of last year to July of this year, our cash balances dropped by $160,000, just to give you some data points. But currently, as of the end of July, $1,020,000. Of the $1,020,000, the reserve account represents $921,000. The contra account that weighs heavily on my mind is the interest that we owe, and that is $825,000. So if real easily, it's $100,000 delta buffer above that we have. So we don't have a lot of flexibility. And what I'm hearing is we're going to have to front end from our liquidity, our burn rate, until we get the reimbursements for the grants and other funds that come throughout the year. So it makes it even tighter. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
You're welcome. And then relative to interest income, I don't have June to date. I have July, but for instance, July of 25, we had earned $5,000. And then in July of 26, it's 1,400 in interest income.
That's annualized or
That's just the first month.
okay. I'll just make
Yeah.
it for monthly.
Monthly. So what I recall, we don't generate enough interest income certainly to subsidize something like this. My first reaction is this is a little bit of gift from heaven, this lot. If we rent it at, let's just say, lease it at 30,000, that would offset the deficit, just top of mind in 5 seconds to look at it. So that could be a buttressing for our very tight and belt tightening financial position for the year. That could be an alternative to consider.
And the jumpstart expense that, or the program suspension, what do you think that added to our community and economic growth? If we suspend that program, what are we losing by doing that?
Well, I'm a big fan of the Jumpstart Jefferson. It was, my first time being involved in it was here, and it was a great day, very uplifting. There were at least 10 businesses that were positively affected. But the good news is that program is going to survive without our input or us carrying the weight for this year. So it's a great program. It's hard to measure exactly what the impact was, but for those businesses, I think it was great. And, I got to deliver the check to the first place winner for $7,500 and the third place winner and the People's Choice Award. And if you were here that night, it was a really good night. So a big fan of the program, delighted it's going to continue on. And I had a conversation with Carol Goldsby, and she invited, JCDA to still be involved and be part of that program. But it's good news that it's not going to be gone forever. But it's certainly not a program we want to see eliminated.
Do you by any chance know if it's still going to be limited to Jefferson County? So it'll still be the same applicants?
I believe that's true.
So in essence, it's still continuing on in its same capacity. And we will still have the ability to participate as well, correct?
That's right.
Okay.
I found the year-to-date number here and as a pack rat in my information. So as of the end of the fiscal year, June 26 of 2026, 34,214.
That's some of the deficit.
Some.
I would recommend, and I can make a motion if we're done discussion. I would recommend that we increase the budget for legal fees based on Lot 12. I think for us to be able to dispose of the properties, we want to really generate some real free cash. We'll have to quiet title. I think in the midterm, we could rent it and generate some income that way, but our options to sell it does not have marketable title with a tax deed. So we will incur some legal expenses to quiet that title.
So you are making a motion?
I will make a motion to adopt the fiscal year 2027 budget. However, to amend legal expenses to an additional 5,000.
And would that, just to clarify, also amend the 24,000 from reserves to make that 29,000 from reserves?
And I will amend my motion to increase the transfer of reserves to 29,000.
I understand. Thank you.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, say, or is there any discussion? All in
Well,
favor?
I just want to thank the director for working on this budget. It's very, very difficult, as he stated. And I do appreciate the fact that you took the time to find a place where cuts can be made. But I'm very, very concerned about the fact that there's no concrete source of income or additional revenue for the future. That's really concerning, and that, as you know, is the debt that we have. And so, I would like to see additional cuts made, and appreciate the gentleman's motion here to increase the legal fees, but I would be inclined not to support that particular amendment or part of the budget. So I just wanted to add that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Upson.
like Ms. Skinner said too, there's no way that we can take off the training or the travel expense? Because you said that the county's budget's already done.
The county's budget is done. I mean, you could eliminate those things from the budget. And if you look across the line, that's probably some of the things I've eliminated in option 2 or option 3. However, I think we need to spend those dollars. I think we need that amount of spending. And
Okay.
the truth is we're not going to be in this catch-22 very long. I share the concern and the disappointment in the tight budget. However, the county commission has provided the staff that's needed right now. Ashley's here, I'm here, the operating costs, a nice office, good phone system, vehicle to use. You're paying for a solid, great website. I mean, we're not going to just sit here and use up some money. We're going to change the arithmetic of this budget next year. So yes, I agree that I wish there was more money in the Jefferson County budget that paid for all the operating costs for it. But yeah, you're still carrying a load, but I don't know that any of that is things you could really eliminate. I think it's as tight as we can get functionally.
It seems to me that our budget is not, on a cost basis, is not a problem. It's a revenue problem. Our top line, our top line's there. We're not going to save ourselves out of this. We've got to revenue ourselves out of this, in my opinion.
I agree.
And we can start with this lot. That's a $300,000 in free cash to get started with something that can be great.
Could we reflect the income for interest to be $15,000 and that way it would only be 14,000 out of reserves?
Well, in addition to the interest income, which isn't normally reflected on a budget, there's interest expense, which is not normally reflected on the budget. If you look at, it says interest in here somewhere.
Yeah, interest income. But it
Interest,
says 0.
yeah. And for expenses, there should be an interest expense in there somewhere, right?
Mm,
Interest expense,
Yeah.
it's 6202. And the budget for that is $0. In my conversations with our accounting firm, that was $32,000 last year. So there's another $32,000 worth of interest expense that's not calculated that almost entirely offsets what Raymond was talking about, the interest income. So
In debt
So
service.
is that just accumulating as part of our debt or is that something we actually pay out every month?
The interest on the West Virginia EDA has stopped. And I think part of the reason the run rate on interest expense on the prior budget is we still had outstanding loans to them. So it was accruing. Now we're basically down to very little in terms of the obligation of the loan itself.
Do you know where we are on the amortization table on that?
Well, there is no more amortization on the West Virginia EDA. That was just stopped based on the conversations that we had with the West Virginia EDA telephonically. They're willing to re-amortize the 800 and some odd thousand on it over another project.
Okay.
So that's just sitting there. It's not accruing interest on the balance of interest that we owe, but the balance, the principal balance, we've cleared. There's a de minimis amount that we owe in terms of the principal balance on the loan.
So I guess I just don't understand why you wouldn't show interest income on your budget.
Yeah, that's a carryover from prior budgets. Even in the fiscal year 26, it wasn't allocated, and in fiscal year 25. So I just assumed it was a stylistic way of doing things.
Would that be like cash versus accrual accounting or something?
No, it would be accrual because we report on an accrual. I just think it was done, like we said, the amount of interest that's earned went to fund what is owed on the interest, and it was fairly much a wash.
But if it's not a wash anymore and we're not paying that much in interest,
For fiscal year 27, I'm expecting it to actually help us reduce that deficit because we have less interest expense to pay.
Is there any further discussion from staff or members of the board? So the motion was to approve to adopt the fiscal year 2027 budget and amend legal fees by 5,000,
Correct. Increasing the illegal fees by 5,000.
to increase the legal fees by 5,000 and to increase the reserve to 29,000. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So that was first by David Lutman and second by Mr. Goodrich. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed.
Nay?
And that was Ms. Upson. Is that correct?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries. Next agenda item is the Burr Bardane Business Parks and Property Owners Association and Lot 12 updates. We did briefly talk about Lot 12, but staff, if you could get into that, I think that's an exciting topic.
Will, did you want to talk about the property owners at all?
Sure. We had provided them with a deadline of September. And as of this moment, we've not heard that there's been much in the way of progress in terms of organizing the owners association. At this point, I think if the board wanted to go ahead and finish mowing out the season, then starting next year, it would be the responsibility of the property owners to take care of that.
How far out did we go? I thought we were going August and September to mow, or no, was it just August? Is it just August to mow?
No, it was the end of October 1st.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so the end of
Okay.
September.
Okay. So after October 1st, we wouldn't mow, right?
Yeah, I think it's fair to say that's about the end of the mowing season.
Yeah. I would think
And
so.
Todd Wilt and I did drive through the park last week. It looks fairly good. A lot of the property owners are already mowing to the street. So there were a couple lots that's getting a little shaggy, that just aren't well maintained or don't have any construction or build up on those lots. But it doesn't look much different from the roads that are cared for by the state of West Virginia. So I'd anticipate maybe a mowing or two at the end of the season and wrap it up. And hopefully there would be no other maintenance costs needed between now and October 1st.
And then snow, but we wouldn't be doing snow removal, correct?
I'm sorry.
We wouldn't be doing snow removal then, right? We
Yeah.
would be done.
That's right.
Is there any further discussion on that agenda item?
I think maybe we need to add a future agenda item, but I do think we probably need to create a directive that asks us to dedicate any common ground to the home or to the lot owners associations who are relieved of any liability. Do you have any feedback?
Yeah, I believe that's part of what needs to happen. Will and I were talking, there is some legal hurdles to get over, but the jointly owned property will have to be deeded to the property owners association.
Yeah, we need to dedicate the common ground.
Yeah.
To the lot owners
Which includes the
association,
roads.
which includes the roads. So is it appropriate to make a motion to do so by a certain date so we're relieved?
Mr. Rohrbar, is that something that we would be able to do?
Yes. I know with some owners associations, there are complications where you have wastewater treatment systems that are permitted under NPDES permits through the Department of Environmental Protection. We do not have that situation here. So with that scenario, you would have to obtain the consent of the owners association in order to transfer the NPDES permit. But since we have none here, we should be in a position to go ahead and transfer ownership of those common areas.
I think that shows a sense of urgency and it would be something appropriate if you'd like to make a motion.
Yeah, I mean, I think coming off the budget review, we've got to get what expenses we can control. We've got to get rid of them in a hurry.
I agree.
Is that something that you could draft, or would you need outside counsel to draft that?
I can draft that.
All right, so I'd make a motion that our council drafts a dedication document and records to the Jefferson County Courthouse dedicating all common ground, including but not limited to roads of the Burr Industrial Park. All phases of the Burr Industrial Park.
Mr. Lutman made a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
All right.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Were you able to get all that for the motion? Okay, great. All right, that brings us to our next point of business, unless there was any other discussion on that, Director Cowles.
No, sir, I think that's good. I may need some legal advice when it comes to Lot 12 and what we're going to do, but I don't think I need any action from the board tonight.
Okay. That brings us to our next point, which would be new business. So there is on the agenda, an approval of an RFP for engineering services. Staff, would you like to discuss the engineering services and the approval for the RFP?
Yes, it is an RFP for on-call consultant engineering services. It came to my attention, and this draft was shared with me from Region 9 Planning and Development Council, but Morgan County and Region 9, and I believe Berkeley County also, they have already gone through this process, and they have an on-call engineer ready to go, and it saves some time. If we need engineering services, it would save us 2 months, maybe 3 months to go ahead and do this process now and have an on-call engineering consultant that we could get to do preliminary engineering work for us. As you know, we have a USDA grant out there for preliminary engineering services, or that would hopefully fund preliminary engineering services for water and sewer extensions. But if we win that grant, we're going to have to take 60 to 90 days to go through a process to procure an engineer. And Region 9 suggested this might be helpful in a number of ways, including Lot 12, including the site development grants we have, or the procurement of an engineer for a preliminary engineering of extension of water and sewer. So that's what's before you now, is the idea of an RFP to hire or to put out or to get on in contract an engineer for on-call services.
Okay, members of the board, is there any discussion?
May I ask the director if he knows whether or not the state provides through their GIS office engineers who could do some of this work?
I don't believe they do. I've never known a project, an infrastructure project, to be done in that manner, but I don't know for sure. That's an interesting idea.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Any other discussion? Would anyone like to make a motion to approve the approval of an RFP for engineering services?
I move the approval of an RFP for engineering services as presented.
First by Mr. Goodrich.
Second.
I believe it was second by Lutman.
Now let them have one.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
You're fine.
Okay, so the motion carries, which brings us to our next point, which is connected. So that would be an appointment of an audit committee. Staff, go ahead.
Yes, sir. There's an annual audit that the JCDA is responsible for doing. Last year, you did it in September, I believe. You appointed an audit committee. So I pulled those two agenda items off of your last year's agenda. And the state auditor's office has, put out a memo about how you go about doing your annual audit. It requires that the JCDA must appoint an audit committee. And it says the committee shall have at least 3 members, but not more than 5, with at least 1 member from the entity's governing body and 1 member from the entity's appointee with a working knowledge of the accounting system utilized. Last year, you appointed, I believe, the director, the treasurer, and 1 other person. You don't have to do that this time, but you certainly could. And it would be nice to have that process up and running for them to procure the audit services that are required.
Okay. Would anybody like to, so are we actually electing that committee right now then, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Are there any nominations? I would like to nominate Kathy Skinner to be on this audit committee
And Raymond Goodrich. as well.
and Raymond Goodrich. Director Cowles as well?
Sure.
Okay, so Director Cowles, Raymond Goodrich, and Kathy Skinner, I think would make a fantastic audit committee. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, congratulations to our new committee. I think you guys will make a very strict and very proper audit committee, and that's exciting to see. So this brings us to our next point, which would be the strategic plan, approve phase 2 proposal. This is pretty exciting news to see. I think this kind of steers a lot of our decisions, so I'm excited to see this coming through. So staff, if you'd like to explain this.
Well, Mr. Chairman, the item 7C is also an important
Oh,
step.
sorry, I did skip that. Yep.
Yeah.
So we'll move on to approval of the RFP for audit services fiscal year 26. Go ahead, staff.
Yeah, I think one of the actions that they require is that this board in full authorize that subcommittee they just appointed to procure the audit services process and complete that process and get an audit underway. That process is very prescribed, very rigid, done by the state auditor's office. The list of firms that you could use is already determined. You just have to go through there, get a certain number of them to reply, and then hire them to do the services that are required by the state auditor's office. So, but this board, if they could authorize the audit committee to put out the RFP for audit services for FY26.
So is there a motion to authorize the audit committee to put out an RFP for audit services for fiscal year 2026?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by David Lutman, seconded by Kathy Skinner. All opposed, or sorry, all in favor, say aye.
Just a question.
Go ahead.
Kathy, help my memory. We did an RFP last year and I thought that it was a multiple year engagement. Did I misunderstand? Because it was pretty thorough what we reviewed
I think we have to have a committee every year to go. through
every
the
year, but do we
annual
have to do an
RFPs.
RFP every year?
Right. I believe that's how it is.
Oh, it is? Okay. Thank you.
And then that audit committee, all they do is they go through and they score the
We
different
scored.
proposals that come in through the RFP. And then the committee makes a recommendation to the board on which accounting firm to select.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? So it has been motioned and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so I apologize about that. So this does move us on to our strategic plan now, the approval for phase 2 proposal. Go ahead, staff.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. In your packet is the report, the supplemental scope of services proposed by ZMM Architects, our consultant for the strategic plan. As you remember, they did their first part, an executive summary that came out, was part of your packet a month or two ago for the work that was done over the summer, early summer. And this is phase 2. This is their next steps to complete the project. And it outlines the scope, the deliverables, the fee structure and schedule, and the outline that is to be done by the end of the calendar year. So I'd anticipate in mid-December, you would get the final report. You'd get a draft report the month before in mid-November, but it outlines that timeline, those costs, and what you could expect in the final strategic plan update. And it is my suggestion that we approve this.
Is there any discussion? I really enjoyed our first phase of this, and I think we really built some momentum. So I'm excited to see this move on to phase 2. So I think this would be a good thing going forward, and I think it would have been a lot better to have this 2-3 months ago so that we could make the proper decisions, fiduciary and just momentum wise in general. So I think getting this done for me is a huge thing, and I think it will really bring us forward. So is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by Raymond Goodrich,
Second.
second by Kimberly Moss. All in favor, say aye.
I have a
Discussion, sorry.
quick question. It looks like for section 2, the fee, is that $15,000 for this phase?
Now, section 2, the fee schedule, it's 32,000.
32, yeah.
Yeah, I think of which 15 is a phase.
I was looking at page, it doesn't have a page number. I think it's like the second to, I don't know. I just want to make sure, because is this in our budget? This additional next phase?
It is not. It all has to come from reserve funds.
Yeah, that's. There's two different costs in here. I guess I'm not sure which one we're looking at. This one looks like the first.
Yes, I see where Ms. Skinner is referencing where it says section 2 fee and schedule on the page right before the signature page, where there's a breakdown where it does look as though there is a $15,000 total in there on that particular line.
It looks like that one was executed on May 5th of 26. So maybe that was the first, the initial fee
Yeah.
that they charge, and then this one's an additional 32,000. Is that correct?
That's right. We did enter into a contract, and it is part of the exhibit that's in the back of this proposal. And that is the initial meeting and outline that cost $15,000. So yeah, that is in your packet, but it is as the exhibit background for this document.
Okay, so we just have to be aware that when we're voting for this, that's an additional $32,000 out of our reserves. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Mr. Director, that was not made clear. I thought that we had already voted and this was part of a previous budget that we had voted on, and that this was not a part of the FY27 budget that you just outlined for us.
Well, it is not part of the FY27 budget. It is just an expense that you're incurring. It is not an operating expense. It is a special expense.
So that wouldn't fall under professional services, any of those 6270 or 6280 line items?
I don't believe it would. I mean, it certainly could. I don't have the budget in front of me.
I mean, is there a difference if we capitalize it versus expense it though, really, in accounting for this? I mean, it's still, we're talking about cash at the end of the day, right, Raymond?
Yeah, it's going to come out. I'm just thinking, top of mind, it's certainly something we need. How much time do we have to give them an answer?
We have time. If we want it done by the end of the year, it's pretty tight, but.
The only thing I'm thinking is because, we've been given the deck of cards that we have, should we not maybe, and I can take the lead on this, kind of see the cash line up projects like the lot, and this 34 in the scheme of things is a big number. It doubles our deficit. And should we just not tee things up in a manner where we know that we're going to be getting this income that can help support something like this? In other words, get the budget a little more fine-tuned of teeing up priorities, come back to the board and say, look, option 1, 2, and 3, because I think we have to sequence up some of the spending for fiscal year 27, unlike what we did before where we had the cash to be able to do that.
I mean, I'm in favor of doing this, but I just know that the deficit of $24,000 or $29,000 gave us some heartburn, and I just want to make sure we all understand that we just more than doubled that. with
Exactly.
This,
And I'm wondering if we put this on the simmer part of our stove, in other words, on hold today, I come back to you all with kind of a prioritization of if we lease it out, when would that income start coming in? so that we have a better sense of what our negative cash position would be. Knowing that we don't have a big buffer, we only have 100,000.
Right. I mean, I think we need to do this anyway, no matter what the cash, map
Position
looks
is.
like. But at the same time, I just want us to all understand where it's not coming from.
Yes.
So do they have, is there terms to this? When is the payment due? Can we stretch terms or do it as they do the meetings?
Yeah, I think it is outlined in the document as well.
And I think part of the budget, the interest income is not in the budget. So we have to
We have a
Yeah.
little bit of that.
we have no interest expense this year, fortunately, and we have some.
Yeah, it should be de minimis. So there's a little bit there. I feel like I'm picking pennies up off the floor, but that
I think
helps,
that's all
you
we
know?
have.
We are.
Yeah.
We are.
It is a bit confusing though. I thought we remembered, or I remembered talking about this before, and then I thought it was ear tagged or already paid for. So when we went to go vote for this, I thought, am I wrong?
My memory's
There's the earmark.
vague, but I thought the total project was presented to us. And I think we voted on the first part because we didn't know what the second part would give us.
Okay.
Right. And what is the second part going to give us?
I mean, I guess the entire
The entire
plan.
plan.
Without the second part, I don't think we have anything.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because the first part was more like a survey. What are the priorities?
Yep.
What do you see as the future of the county? And then they were going to go out, if I'm not mistaken, and survey other kind of municipalities and entities that are in the county. Was that right?
Well, not this iteration, but I know before my time, there's obviously in the file a long process of consideration of the strategic plan update. It was a huge RFP that went out. It was a pretty nice reply, maybe 7, 8, 10 different engineering firms and consultants replied. A lot of them put a lot of time and effort into their replies. Some of them had a dollar figure on them. Most of them didn't. Half of them didn't, at least, I guess. And you guys went through a process in the file and obviously selected this consultant. And this consultant decided to pare that down and do it in a two-step process, which I think is considerably smaller than the initial RFP that went out. I think the RFP that went out, there was some concern that it was hundreds of thousands of dollars of procurement of services that it would take to meet the RFP that went out. And in response to that, I think they pared it down and said, well, let's start with this first $15,000 analysis of what it is that the JCDA is looking for, what you can do, and then went through that process and helped outline what would come after it. What would come after it is this, what's before you now, the $32,000 completion of the strategic plan. Although they've talked about different options you would have after that. That if from the strategic plan, it suggests maybe you look at a business park somewhere, a new 200-acre business park somewhere, that they could take that idea and be your consultant to develop that for you. If it was, a spec building with flex space, they could take that idea and flush that out as well. Those would be options you can consider down the road. The urgency is to get a strategic plan as required on record before the end of the year. And I think this is a skinny version of what that could be.
Unfortunately, I think it was a bit misleading by ZMM on the procurement process. And I don't know if that was, I don't believe it was intentional, but in my head, I kind of already had it, that it was done. I do believe it's a bit disappointing that's not really a palatable number when we were just complaining about $24,000. So, this is a lot of money, but I think if we don't do this and we don't do it now, that we're going to lose momentum again and we're going to be back at square one and we're not going to think about this until the next meeting. But I 100% agree with you that this is not a palatable number.
Right. No, I agree with moving forward with this today because otherwise we're going to, as you said, get down the road, but they're the ones giving us the map as to which road to take. And so I don't think kicking this can down the road is going to do us any good. I think we need this, but I just want to make sure that everybody is aware that how we're paying for this. That's
making sure that there's not a payment schedule. I think you said it was in there. There's not. So I would assume it's due payable upon signing of the contract and executing the next phase.
Yeah, that's absent any payment schedule. I think they'll send a bill to the JCDA for $32,000 around Christmas time.
I do agree with you, Mr. Goodrich. If there is a way for us to kind of pick this apart and dissect it on how we can somehow pay for it, doesn't really change things, but I do think that'll be at least something that we can, I guess, digest a little better. So it has been motioned and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Okay.
What is the current motion? I kind of lost track there because we had such a lengthy discussion on that.
The current motion was to approve the strategic plan as presented by Director Cowles, to approve the phase 2 proposal.
Okay, so we do not have a motion for Mr. Goodrich's suggestion to carry this over to the next agenda while the numbers are crunched a little bit more, since it wasn't really time critical at this point per the director.
There is no current motion on the table.
Yeah, and for that reason, thank you, Ms. Upson. For that reason, I'll be voting nay.
I did not hear that. Can you repeat that, please?
I appreciate the point that Ms. Upson has raised, and following that point, I'll be voting nay. I think it's better to wait until the next meeting, as Mr. Goodrich proposed.
Okay.
I mean, I know Director Cowles said that it's not urgent. However, if you look at their time frame, they're submitting work on starting November 17th and then having the final strategic plan December 15th. So if we push this by a month, that's going to be into the new year before we get this. And then we're halfway through our fiscal year. I mean, I really want to have a plan to pay for it, but at the same time, I don't want to put a stop to this work because this is important. I mean, we've already put $15,000 into it, and I hate to pay $15,000 and not have where we're going.
Can you speak to you mentioned that if we don't finish by the end of the year, that we're not in compliance, what regulation?
Yeah, I don't have many details for you, but it's my understanding that there's intended to be a strategic plan on record for the Jefferson County Development Authority. And I think that strategic plan has expired. And I don't know for how long you're allowed to sit on the old strategic plan before it becomes updated and renewed. But it is, it's time, it's a little overdue. And the effort was to get it done by the end of the calendar year. But to the point, I think it would push it past beyond the end of the calendar year. It takes some time. I'm not sure perhaps you could do those things, but you could there's some wisdom in figuring out where you're going and how you're going to pay for things. And there's probably some urgency to get it done too.
Thank you.
Is there a way to amend the motion that we adopt this with some very reasonable terms that we could present to them, and that would let Mr. Goodrich kind of back into his idea? Not an ideal circumstance, but help the cash flow problem along.
So are you proposing that they break it up into like a payment plan?
Yeah.
60.
Net 60?
90.
Mhm.
Yeah, then
I mean, I don't think they'll push back. I mean, well, you have a better,
The term.
then we can get the ball rolling. We can get some work done. Make a deposit for 20% to get the ball rolling, and then project complete in that 30-day terms.
the only thing is, I do agree with that. I think it'd be a good idea. It's just a gamble that pushes us back another month, unless we have a special meeting.
Motion be accept contingent with
Mhm.
down at 60, special meeting in between here and.
So there would be a special meeting if they said no.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep, that would work. Would you like to make that motion?
I can regurgitate that.
Yes, you do.
Okay. What he said. Plus, we have a special meeting if we do not get the results of the offered terms for
60,
20% down. in that 60, right? Is that what we're saying? Would be reasonable?
20% down and net 60 on the rest. I mean, that would be favorable. I mean, do you have a better relationship with them? Do you think they would push back on that or no?
I think they'll be fine with that, but
Okay.
but the concept is that I sign the agreement and authorize them to move forward with the, as long as they're okay with a 20% upfront deposit.
Correct.
And 30-day terms at the end of the delivery.
60. They want 60 after completion.
60. So yeah, sign the agreement provided that's acceptable to the consultant.
Mr.
And should we not have those payment terms met, then we need to come into a special meeting
Mhm.
prior to
Yes.
October.
Correct. Yes. Do you mind saying that one more time? She's taking minutes and I'm sure that's hard
Okay.
to write
So we
down.
are going to sign and move forward with the agreement pending a 20% down net fee payment terms that can be executed by Mr. Cowles. If they come back and decline that, then we will go back into a special meeting prior to.
Would anyone like to second that motion?
I was part of it, so I'll second it.
Yes.
All right. Seconded by David Lutman. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
So that was
Nay.
Jill, is that correct? And Zach Amato, is that correct?
No, this is Pasha.
That's possible.
Oh, that was Pasha.
Yeah.
Okay. So the motion carries. The next agenda item is discussion of prospects and possible executive session. Is there a motion to discuss prospects and bring us into possible executive session?
So moved.
So moved by Kimberly Moss. Is there a second? There is a second by Kathy Skinner. That brings us into executive session. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
And I think we're set up next door.
Okay. We'll be next door. Is it going to be the same link that they have online?
Yeah.
Or are you going to call them? We have Pasha, Zachary Amato, and
Yeah.
Miss Upson.
I-
We could just all call them if we have their numbers.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we just call them.
Okay.
Okay. You guys can turn your mics off too.
Whoops.
Make a motion to adjourn executive session.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Kathy Skinner. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Do we have everybody back on as well, Jill Upson and Sakamoto?
Here.
Okay. And I heard Jill Upson, so I know she's here. Pasha Majdi, I believe, did drop off as well, right? Okay. We do have that recorded in the minutes as well. Our next agenda item brings us to the director's report, which we all have a copy of in our packets.
I don't know if there are any questions, but I could run through that real fast if you'd like.
Yeah, if there's anything that we haven't already discussed upon, if you could run through it, and then we could also bring up any comments as well.
All right, the first item is the WVEDC Fall Conference. I'm going to be attending that. As you know, the annual grant that we get from the state of West Virginia requires certain training credits in order to comply for that grant. And you have to attend one of the two conferences for the WVEDC. There was no director available to go to the one in the spring, so I'm going to the fall conference, and that's at Snowshoe. The Eastern Panhandle Entrepreneurs Forum was held, nice event over in Martinsburg at the Purple Iris, and I believe the next one is going to be in Jefferson County. That's to be determined, but I may be leaning on you for some help to where we could host the Eastern Panhandle Entrepreneurs Forum. Same with the Region 9 Planning and Development Council. I think their next meeting is going to be in Jefferson County as well. And that's usually a luncheon meeting. And it's, regional directors from Jefferson, Berkeley, and Morgan together, town mayors, county commissioners, maybe 30 people altogether. The site grants, water and sewer, USDA grant application is still pending. Don't have an answer on that yet. The Agritourism Task Force is up and running, going quite well. The Eastern Economic Alliance, which is a good group, by the way, I should say, that is Jefferson, Berkeley, and Morgan together. And it's our regional collaboration. It used to be called West PEP, but now it's called the Eastern Economic Alliance. And they hosted Ellen Hines, the federal EDA rep for West Virginia, and she toured around, and each county got to go there and do a PowerPoint presentation to pitch to our federal EDA rep projects that might be important in our area. And it was over at the airport in Martinsburg, and then she toured the plastics lab at Blue Ridge. So anyway, a great day, a great invitation, and a great visit by Ellen Hines. And CVB Board of Directors, I'm going to the tourism conference down in Charleston with the CVB later. And I don't know if you saw it today, we got a new tourism director, a personal friend of mine that I served in the House of Delegates with. So she's from Fayette County. And I think that's about all the things we didn't cover through our normal course of business, but that's the update from the director, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion from the members? No. So that brings us to our next point, which is members' comment. Are there any comments from the members? Any discussion?
I can share one little bit of news, and that's that Jefferson County Schools just started a new program for students. It's a plumbing program. So this is going to be the first batch of students starting that since school started yesterday. So we're creating some plumbers for Jefferson County, which I think are well needed.
Right?
Yes, it's a prize center.
Well, I've got one offbeat comment. Do they have estimating class?
Estimating class? No, but we could probably look into it.
Yeah, that's the young trades that we see come in frequently. I say, you're not going to be in business very long. You need to review your estimating.
All right, we'll make sure that's a part of it.
Yeah.
Is there any comment from the two that are online? Okay, if there's no further discussion, can I get a motion to adjourn? Moved by Raymond Goodrich,
Second.
seconded by David Lutman. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.